Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's class in Accounting 1115. The assignment's in the books, and you're going to need that Cirrus activation code for it. Okay? One other thing, if there's anybody that's on here now that does not have access to a PC, if you only have a Mac and you don't have a PC, unfortunately, this version of QuickBooks only works on PCs. So please email me and let me know that you only have a Mac, and also let me know which campus you're near. The libraries are open on a limited schedule, and we will set up QuickBooks on a PC in the library if you need to do that, but you need to let me know your situation. Okay, let's turn to looking at Chapter 1 in Blackboard. And Chapter 1 is set up as all the chapters in the book. They're set up first showing the goals and objectives. And we're going to concentrate on those each week. So for Chapter 1, the objectives and the goals for this week are describe the difference between and similarities between manual and computerized accounting, identify the 4 levels of operation within QuickBooks, open QuickBooks, make a backup copy of a company file, restore a backup copy of a company file, and change the name of the company. Okay, and we're going to talk about all 6 of these in a little bit. The next part of each chapter is the chapter assignments and activities. And on this page, you can see an overview of the different activities and assignments for each week. And one thing I just noticed as we're looking at this, at the bottom here where it says, send me a note in the Ask My Instructor journal. We don't have that for this class. Send me an email, please, if you do have any questions. So by clicking on this, we'll go into the Chapter 1 activities and assignments. First thing, Ms. Schuster taught this class last month, and she made videos in many of the chapters. So her video contains a lot of what we're going to go over today. Your assignment for this week is the watch and learn lesson. And again, you see that it's part of Cirrus. And you can read Chapter 1 QuickBooks here and do the Chapter 1 video. And then at the end, you take this little quiz here. It'll say, since I took it, if you take it for the first time, it'll say attempt. So you take the quiz, and that's your assignment for this week. And all of these things, Ms. Schuster's video, reading the book, this Chapter 1 video, all go, and what we're going to discuss today, all go over the same general materials. So you should have a number of different ways to look at the material for each week. The next thing that you'll need to do is download the software, download QuickBooks. It's a long process, so we're not going to go over it in class. It's here in Blackboard. It's also on page 4 and 5 of the textbook. So you should be able to go through step by step, and it's very detailed, and to get QuickBooks and register with Intuit. The main thing about register, please, please, please remember to register. Because you see right down here, if you don't register, you won't be able to use the software after 30 days. And you don't want to be caught that way in the middle of the semester. The next thing on this is the student data files. These files you're going to use in each chapter of the book. They are your files for your company. And we'll go more and more into the company as we get into QuickBooks. But please download these data files, set a folder on your computer for these files, and so you know exactly where they are. And again, some more QuickBook tips, QuickBook shortcuts that are in Cirrus. Remember, this is always the Cirrus designation, this little globe thing, and some keyboard shortcuts.
I don't have a question about the activities. I have a question about discussions. Are we supposed to reply to people's posts or post?
Great question. Great question. The answer is yes and no. How about that? You don't, there's not discussions in this class per se about the class. These discussions here are if you're stuck on something and so you can reach out to your classmates and say, I'm having a problem doing whatever. How did you do it? Obviously, you can email me, but you can also get information from your classmates. That's that discussion. The yes part of the discussion is that this class is the one that you will be doing work ethics. And I don't know, I'm guessing that you all have done these in other classes. I'm assuming you have. Maybe you've done work ethic discussions. I don't know. Anybody? Well, anyway. So starting in week 3, and we'll go over it in a couple weeks when we go over that chapter, almost every week you'll have a work ethic discussion. And it'll be on different aspects of work, of culture, how to dress, how to act, how to do emails, and so forth. So you will be able, and in that you will have a discussion question, and then you'll respond to 2 of your classmates. So in that sense, yes, we do have discussions, but only for work ethic. Another student asked, I've not been able to find the book. Is there a link? You need to go through the bookstore and get it through them. They should be able to help you get it and order it from the bookstore. Someone asked where the quiz is. Let me show where the quiz is. Again, the quiz is here in the Watch and Learn lesson. I just hit it by mistake, but it's in the Watch and Learn lesson. Here it is. You click on it, it is a Cirrus function. Here's chapter 1 in QuickBooks, chapter 1 video, and the quiz is right here. This little flat thing. Okay, let me check and make sure I've gotten everybody's. Let's go back to these goals here. The first goal is describe the differences and similarities between manual and computerized accounting. And, you know, QuickBooks, we talk about QuickBooks. It's a computerized accounting system. What would you say, what is an accounting system? How would you define an accounting system? Or maybe ask the question, why do you need an accounting system?
You need an accounting system to determine the health of your company for financial purposes, for any kind of information on how your company is doing.
Great answer. You're right. You need it for just to know for taxes, which is, I mean, we're all going to be doing taxes soon. So you need to know for external people if you need to get a loan. You would need to know internally, like you said, to know how your company is doing, to know where you need to make adjustments. I mean, how do you run a company if you don't know how much you sold or what your expenses are? Or maybe looking at, boy, we spent this much on advertising last year and our sales didn't increase at all. So maybe we're doing the wrong advertising, or we didn't spend enough, or making the day-to-day managerial decisions that are made in any company. And we talked a little bit about reporting externally. You need to know, taxes, of course, income taxes, payroll taxes, and so forth. And all of the different, not only banks, but it could be if you're renting space, a landlord might want to look at your financial statements to know if you're a viable company and you're going to pay the rent. or anybody else or any big purchases, so forth. Okay. So I think we've decided that a business definitely needs some kind of accounting system. They need to somehow be able to track sales, expenses, payroll, etc. I see people set for financial data, and we're going to go into the next. Somebody said replacement for a paper ledger. We're going to go into that now. Oh, good point. Protection for assets and customers. You know, if you have assets, you want to take an inventory. Back in my corporate accounting days, and I'll bring in a lot of examples from when I was working as a corporate accountant, I worked for a rental-car company, and we had to keep track of the cars. And at one point, I was working for their car sale division, and I was taking a physical inventory of the cars they had for sale. And wouldn't you know, there was a few of them that weren't there. So it is really important to have a list of your assets, of knowing what you have, and to know your customers. That's another thing. You want to know who your customers are. So, and especially in certain businesses, probably more so than another. If you go to a quick market and buy a pack of gum, they really don't need to know who you are. But if you're a customer that makes major purchases from a company, you need to know the customers. So we know now we need an accounting system. And now we want to see why we would need a computerized system over a manual system. We could use a paper ledger. We could write down all of our sales. We could write down all of our expenses. We could keep track of payroll on a piece of paper. Why would you think we would need a computer system?
Because when you enter it once, you don't have to enter it 15 times. It automatically, through the software, will go to all the places it needs to go because it's programmed that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. That is a great example. Again, I can give an example from my past. My son had a nonprofit. He runs a nonprofit. Very small nonprofit. So up until last year, I was doing his books for him, and I was doing it in Excel. Although it's technically not manual, but it is. That I could write down the expenses of rent or buying materials or payroll or whatever. And from that, I had to pick out the items that would go in an income statement or in a balance sheet. I had to make sure everything was accounted for. I had to manually reconcile to their bank balance to make sure I was accounting for everything and so forth. Where in a computerized system, like I think it was Dina that said it, it goes to all the places it needs to go to. And probably if it was, and not probably, absolutely, if it was entered incorrectly by the person entering it, then it's going to go correctly into all of the different places. In my Excel example, if I entered it correctly, that's great, and I can copy and paste correctly, that's great, but what if I didn't? What if I forgot one? There's a lot more risk of human error using any kind of manual system. Anything else? A good point. Advancements of technology such as e-filing, online banking, online payments, etc. Things can be connected. How many of you have bills that are connected directly to your bank account or credit card? You know, my cell phone bill goes to my credit card. I don't have to worry about it. Definitely e-filing my income tax, those kinds of things. So important. And using a computerized system, a lot of these processes can be streamlined. Great, great point. If I said to all of you, we need to debit rent expense and credit accounts payable, then we're going to debit accounts payable and credit cash, all of you would probably know what I just said. What I was saying, what that transaction was, because I believe all of you have taken some accounting prior to taking QuickBooks, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, not everybody knows that. If I said to a non-accountant, we need to pay rent, they would know what that is. And they can go into a computerized system and with a little bit of training and where it says, you know, pay a bill and say, oh, we need to pay rent to, you know, XYZ Corporation. And they can just put in the amount of the rent. And like Dina said, it's going to go to all the places and all the accounts that it's supposed to. And if you were going to look behind the scenes of a computerized system, you would see the debit to rent expense and the credit to accounts payable and the debit to accounts payable and the credit to cash. But you don't really have to know that. So it opens up the accounting work, the bookkeeping work to a non-accounting person. So that's a big, big plus, especially I would think for a small business, a mom and pop business where somebody is doing, you know, a non-accountant is doing the books. Going back to my example of my son's nonprofit, they started using QuickBooks last year, and my son does it. He's not an accountant, he's an educator. You know, so, and he's had no problem using QuickBooks. But if I said to him, well, you've got to, you know, debit expense and credit this, he would be not listening after the first sentence. So another good reason. And again, going back to the computerized system sends everything where it needs to go. Reports are available immediately. And that's a huge plus over a manual system. Like I said, again, going back to this nonprofit example, they get a lot of grants. They get a lot of money from grants and they have to provide to the grantors copies of their financial statements. So when they have a grant, I would have to go into their sales and expenses and make up an Excel financial statement, Excel balance sheet for them to send to the grantor. It's cumbersome. I hope it was correct, but there's a higher chance of error and so forth. Where a computerized system, there's a function of report. You need an income statement, you push a button basically, and there you go. So any other questions, comments about the differences and similarities in the manual and computerized accounting? Okay, let's talk about the 4 levels of operations in QuickBooks. Does anybody know those? Okay, let's think about, you're going to start your own business. All of you are going to start a business. And what is the first thing? You're going to set up your accounting system. You've decided to use a computerized system. What is the first thing we want to know about the business? In QuickBooks, it's called new company setup. And in that, you're going to put in things like the company's name, its address, type of business, its fiscal year. Is it a January, December fiscal year, or is it something else? If you're coming into this business, you're going to invest money in the business. Maybe you're going to put $10,000 of your own money to start your business. So you're going to start accounts. Your cash account's going to have a balance in it. Your owner's equity account will have a balance in it, and so forth. So new company setup, pretty self-explanatory. The next thing that you're going to want to do, QuickBooks calls it lists and centers. And it's setting up the basic framework of your accounting system for your specific business. The first thing you want to do is develop your chart of accounts. And as you learned in probably accounting, your first accounting course, I guess it's 1100, you're going to learn the chart of accounts. It's always the same for every business. It can be the mom and pop shop on the corner, or it can be General Motors. And it's going to be cash, assets, liabilities, equities, revenues, and expenses. You may have one or two line items in each of those categories if you're a very small business. General Motors has page after page with subcategories and sections and so forth. So each company has its own chart of accounts specific to its business, but following a general framework of what should be included in a chart of accounts. And these are the accounts you're going to use to record all the transactions in your business. Another list or center is going to be your fixed assets. We talked a little about them earlier. And you want to have a list of all those, from computers and desks and shelving units, depending again what your business is. Like I said, in mine it was cars, so forth. Your sales tax code. You want to know sales tax for your particular area and your area that you're selling in. And customers. You want to have a list of your customers. You want to have a list of your vendors. Who do you buy material from? I think probably, and I know for me in my life, if I need to buy something, I may go look back and, oh, I bought this particular item at this particular store. Let me go back there and buy it again. So you want to have a list of vendors. And the last one is employees, of course. You want to have a list of all of your employees. The next section of these four operations within QuickBooks are activities. And this is what we've been talking about a lot this morning. Day-to-day activities of your business, whether it be sales, it be paying bills, paying employees, doing your taxes, all of the things that are inherent in your business. And the final one, which we've talked about a little bit earlier, is reports. And you have to have reports. You have to have, I always talk about accounting being the scorecard of a business. So if you think about sports and you have a score, the reports are your score. Your score. How are you doing? How are you doing? Are you making money? Are you spending too much on something or other? Do you have a lot of sales of one product and not too many sales of another? Can you show the bank how much money you're making, what your profit is, and so forth? So reports are obviously a very, very important part of an accounting system. One thing that I always mention when I'm teaching any kind of accounting is think of it in terms of your own personal finance. You have assets, you have liabilities, you have expenses, and you have revenue, your salary, your income, So always kind of, to me, if I can't figure something out, I can look at it in that perspective, and that helps. Okay, our next goal is going to be Open QuickBooks. And like I said, on pages 4 and 5 are detailed instructions to install QuickBooks. Again, if you have any questions, you can always contact me. You can contact their tech support if it's a tech question, because I can tell you I'm not a techie person, and you all have different systems, different computers, and so forth. So for technical questions, it's best to contact QuickBooks tech support. You can always look on their help pages if you have any questions. So the next one is making a backup copy of a company file. And I'm going to go and try to open QuickBooks here so you can see my version of QuickBooks. Let me close this.
I have a question.
Sure.
So if I already downloaded QuickBooks and it's open, but there's no company, so do I create a new company like it says?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you're going to create the company from your student files.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll show you in just a second.
Thank you.
Hopefully this will work. Okay, everybody can see my QuickBooks screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, when I'm looking at the screen, I can't see you, and I can't see chats. So here I've opened a company from my student files, and the company name is Chapter 1 Christina Reyna Interior Designs. And you see the QBW is the QuickBook designator, like XLS for Excel and so forth. So when you would open it, and I can't do it because my company is open, open a company file, and you would go into where you have your files and open it from there. It'll go to one where it thinks it is, but then of course you would just find the right file from where you have your student's file, and you open up Chapter 1 Christina Reyna Designs. And I can show you.
Do we do an express start for the company, or do we do a detailed start?
I believe it's an express start. It'll say the recommended one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So here, these are where it says company files. These are my files that I downloaded where it said student files. So I would pick this one, and it'll say open. It'll give me an error message because it's already open. So you would just open a file like you do normally opening a file in any application. Okay, good on that. Okay, so now we have our file open. One thing that we want to do now is to make a backup copy of the file. You always want to have a backup. And you go down here. Here in this file menu, you can see all of your different options, and that's the menu. That will be the only thing that will come up when you have this no company open screen. Nothing else up here on menu bar will appear. Those items in file, you can always find the ones you're going to use the most down here as well. So we have our company open. We want to back it up. And unfortunately, I've already done a backup, so it's not going to let me back it up again. But you would go in here and follow the prompts, and it'll tell you, do you want to create a local backup and an online backup? And you will tell it, yes, I want to do a local backup, and it'll ask you where you want to save it, just like it did on the Open or Restore company. Pretty much you will go through the same prompts, and you will save it to an area that you've designated. It will ask you I save my backup on my hard drive because I back up my hard drive often. But you may feel more comfortable saving it to a flash drive or an external hard drive. If you were in a company situation, you would back it up to some external source. So if your computers were compromised or crashed or whatever happened, they would be on some external source. So you will back it up to wherever you've denoted where your backups go. And you have to remember where that is because you want to restore it from there as well. So you will go through all the prompts to back up your file, and you should do that each time you work on it. Any questions about backing it up?
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm still on the company. So it says to use the Linear Technical Information. So I put Linear Technical College as a business name, but then the industry, what industry do you put? I've been looking for like educational center.
You could put technology if there's one. I don't remember exactly what all the ones are.
There's one for information technology. Would that be?
Okay, you could use that.
And what about the business type? Is it a corporation, LLC?
Does it just have like a single person, or
It has a sole proprietorship.
Yeah.
Okay. For the EIN that it asked for?
You can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
However many digits it is.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the other thing, it was saying open or restore a company. So again, you're going into, let me get back to it, your file menu from this no company open screen, open or restore a company, and it'll ask you what you want to do. Now you're restoring a backup copy. And next, local backup. And these screens are the same for each of the functions pretty much. And it's going to look for my backup copy. And here it is, open. And it already exists. And because I've already done this, it's not going to let me unless I change the name. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Here I can just put an X in here and save. And it's restoring the data. And it takes a bit. My internet is fairly slow, and my computer is fairly slow. So your speed may vary compared to what mine is. But it's going through and picking up all the information. And you'll see this password screen. Everybody's password, every time you see the password in QuickBooks, is uppercase S, student 1. And it'll ask you anytime you open any of these student files, which are now your company files, it'll ask you for that password. So it's student with an uppercase S1. And now we're opening the file, opening the company. And you'll see some other screens will come up. I just X out of them. And this is where we're going to start working on QuickBooks next week, when we go into next week, and we're going to start using QuickBooks next week. We're going to go through chapter 2 and beginning to really get into the guts of QuickBooks. So here, when you see this screen in your book, it has a left menu here. By default, the left menu doesn't come up, but if you want to see it, you can go into View and click left menu bar, and it'll come up eventually. And you can see these different items over here. I'm going to hide it for now. So this is Christina Reyna Designs. Christina Reyna Designs will be your company that you'll work through every chapter of the book. And in each chapter, you'll do a function for her company. It might be sales, it might be vendors, it's depending on that chapter, whatever the focus of that chapter is, that's what you're going to do by using Christina Reyna Designs. And you're going to go through and do those functions in this company. And you can see, looking at the screen, the different things. We have the company here, chart of accounts, the items, calendar, little promo for QuickBooks. They just threw in there. Vendors entering and paying bills. Easy enough, not accounting lingo. You don't have to be an accountant and know debits and credits. You just have to know enter bills and pay bills. And then customers are sales, invoices, accepting credit cards, creating receipts, receiving payments, statements. You know, some companies, instead of you paying right when you buy the merchandise like we do in grocery stores and other stores, they will buy on account, and at the end of the month, pay the bill. And of course, returns and refunds. And the last part is banking. Deposits, writing checks, printing checks, the check register, reconciling the bank account, and so forth. The last thing that is the goal for this week is changing the name of your business. Oh, one more thing. When you open up the company like this, you'll sometimes see some kind of information up here that maybe you're interested in, maybe not. In this case, we're not. Just you can X out of it just to make it cleaner, I suppose. Anyway, we want to change the name of our company. Right now, our company name is up here. It's EX1, which is exercise 1. And you'll see in the chapter, exercise 1 will always, exercise EX, Christine is always Christina Rayner Designs. 1, of course, is a chapter. And my name. You want to make sure. This is really important, especially for me. Please make sure you have your name on your assignments, because otherwise I won't know that it's yours. And then at the end of your other assignment, which we'll get into more next week, there's a case study, and it's Lynn's Music Studio. And so instead of EX, it'll be LMS, Lynn's Music Studio 1, denoting her income statement, denoting her reports, or whatever the assignment is that you're submitting, and also what you're submitting to me, and to know which company you're working on. So we want to change the name of this. Whatever reason, we want to change it to EX1. We want to put our name in it. We want to do whatever. So to change the name of the company. Oh, one more thing I wanted to know while we're looking at this is, if you see up here, when we were in No Company Open, only file and help were available. Now you have all of these different menu items available to you. And we'll use them as we go through all of the class, as you see, company, customers, vendors, employees, banking, etc. So to change the name, we're going to go into company, because we're changing the name of our company, and go into my company. And simple enough, the little pencil, which always denotes edit, you hit edit, and I can change it. And I decided I want to add my middle initial. So my middle initial is M. So I'm going to add M to the name of my company. And okay, simple enough. And you see up here, now it's changed. The name of the company has changed. Any questions?
So that for the company that we set up shouldn't be the name Lanier Technical College. It should have our name in it.
No, this is when you get into QuickBooks and you're working with Christina Rayner Designs. That's
okay, the student files or whatever we're going to bring out.
Right.
Oh, okay. Not the original.
No. That's just to get you set up in QuickBooks. That's really, I guess, the way you want to look at it. That's your accounting company. That's your company. But you're working on the books for Christina Rayner. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay, good. So if you want to get out of your company in QuickBooks, you've done everything you're going to do. Close your company, and you could use File and Exit, and you'll get to this screen, and then X out of QuickBooks. when you're setting it up, the suggestion is using linear tech, as we talked about. Another question is, where do we go to download the student data files for the chapter? Okay, let me go back over into QuickBooks. Back over into Blackboard. Okay, you're going to find the data files when you go into Activities and Assignment in Chapter 1. And scroll down here. Keep scrolling. Here they are. After almost, 3/4 of the way down the Activities and Assignment page. And again, they're in Cirrus. And it'll be a zip file that you download to whatever the appropriate place on your computer that you'll know where they are. So for this week, let's recap for this week. You need to read Chapter 1 in your text. You'll let me know if you, for whatever reason, a number of you let me know that you don't have your textbook yet. And if it's getting on to being like Monday of next week and you still don't have it, just let me know. Also, if you have a Mac and no access to a PC, please let me know, and let me know what campus you're near that you can go to the library to use their PC. And I think you have to make appointments. It's very restricted, but we can work all of that out. Watch Ms. Schuster's video. Watch the video in the Chapter 1 Watch and Learn. It also is Chapter 1 of the textbook. And also watch the video about Chapter 1 and do the quiz. Make sure you know how to back up a copy, real important, back up a file. And then, of course, restoring a file. I decided to make a new folder. I have a folder for Accounting 1115. And I made a new folder saying backup copies. So I'm going to, when I back up my copies, I'm going to back it up to that folder. And then when I restore, I know that that's where it needs to go. And then every time I work on it and back it up, it'll go into that folder. Get QuickBooks set up this week. Because like I said, we're going to start in the guts of QuickBooks next week. So set up QuickBooks this week. If you have technical problems, call Intuit, contact them, contact QuickBooks. QuickBooks is owned by Intuit, who also owns TurboTax. But contact them and they'll be able to help you if it's a technical problem. Let's see. Make sure your file names have your name on it. Your assignment is in the Watch and Learn. There's a quiz. It's, I believe, 10 multiple choice questions. Shouldn't take you too long to do. Question was the syllabus and intro discussion due today? It was not due today. It was due yesterday. Okay, well, thank you for joining.